Okay, so I'm up and feeling quite. It took me a long time to get this live going today, man. All kinds of stuff going on here. Like the long guy showed up unexpectedly, so a bunch of stuff, right? But I'm here obviously to represent to the fullest, right? And now, man, I really been holding this one because I actually got on this idea of talking about Mandalorian culture. Like, man, earlier in the week, I actually sat down and kind of put this whole presentation together. And I don't know, I just some stuff got in the way. I ended up doing some other stuff. I did some new mythologies, by the way, guys. So if you dig mythologies, I've retold some old myth stories. I've been running them on the channel. So if you just like some old mythology stories and some new kind of versions of mythology stories, I've been putting a lot in doing that. I've been voicing them myself as well. So, definitely check those out. Like, I know if you like a long stream where it's just running myth, it's a good stream. I think it's a good stream. Obviously, I think it's a good stream. I got some new like little additions I'm doing to it. Let me get on so I can monitor the chat here. Since I'm doing to it, let me get on so I can monitor the chat here. Okay, there we go. All right. So just kind of letting a few people get in before I really get started on it. But overall, what I was gonna do is I'm gonna talk about the Mandalorian culture or being a Mandalorian overall. Like, because I just checked out the film, which was just like a bunch of episodes all at once. Like it was crazy because my wife had never seen this, and I'm like, why don't we just watch the series, right? Because it's the same thing, like the look and feel, and it's really kind of packaged up that way. It's last one, but whatever. It got me back on like the Mandalorians, who I have talked about before. I have spent some time talking about the Mandalorians, but honestly, I don't think as a civilization it's enough yet. Like, so if you know the Mandalorians, you kind of know what they are. They're pretty well defined. They put out all like the lore. It's readily out there. If you're not up on the Mandalorians, this is a culture that's forged by their creed, and this is going to be very different than most other like cultures that we talk about. Now, the Mandalorians are this clan-based civilization from the Star Wars like bigger universe, right? And they're this identity that was developed around this planet Mandalore, and they were famous around the galaxy for being these armored warriors, mercenaries, soldiers, bounty hunters, like rebels. They were conquerors. The Mandalorians were all these things throughout the universe, right? Associated with this armor and these symbols that you see here, right? And this was their identity. So it wasn't simply just a profession, like, yeah, I'm Mandalorian, like that's my job title, right? No, it's an entire cultural identity that goes along with being a Mandalorian, right? And there's some good things, like the Mandalorians, like the good of it for all of us is that every single one of us could be a Mandalorian, right? It's not specific to bloodline. It's not specific to like, even a species, right? You could train and become a man, or you could adopt Mandalorian, training. You can be adopted into Mandalorian. You can go through training. You can go through initiation and commitment to a Mandalorian clan or creed. So like when we see Din, like the star of the movie, right? Din Djarin, he rescues this kid, and he's showing like he's operating at different levels of being a Mandalorian, right? First, he sees Grogu, and their relationship changes. Not because of ancestry, but he like rescues his child, and then he forms a relationship with them, and then it becomes this bond between the two of them. So he goes through all the stages, and nothing to do with ancestry, but it was like parent, child, teacher, and then apprentice, right? So he goes through all the stages, and now he's adopting him into Mandalorian culture, right? That's what's going on right now, right? So me or you could still become Mandalorian right now, right? Like you could get everything that goes along with it. Like, but that's the whole thing about Mandalorian. You don't have to be in a particular bloodline, but you have to adopt the principles and teachings of the Mandalorian. And even with that, there's some things to go along, right? But you don't have to be born a Mandalorian. You must learn how to live as a Mandalorian. That's the important part, right? So it's one people, but there are many interpretations of the Mandalorians. They don't treat it all as like one unified, system, right? They have multiple convenient versions of what Mandalore represented. Some groups embrace their more like ancient warrior traditions. Some take the creed as more strategic, like more strict, kind of like religious sect. You can see the aspects of Mandalorians. Some are more like were military customs and regular family life. Like we see a couple of scenarios, like the new Mandalorians, they kind of reject civilizations like violent past, and they have a more pacifist, approach to the Mandalore. So it's wide and varied. There's no one voice for Mandalorian culture. It's a huge culture, but the thing that holds it together is their personal creed, their attachment to Mandalorian creed. So this is what the Mandalorians come from. So they do have a complex history, and some of Mandalorian history is kind of still being debated, even among Mandalorians, right? Everyone's not, you see different sects to them. It does have diversity to it, right? So the Mandalorians themselves don't even have powers. This is kind of the staggering thing about the Mandalorian creed, because in a world where you have all these, like, you got Jedi, you got Sith, you got Force sensitive beings, they don't have any of that stuff. They got none of that, right? That's who the Mandalorians are. None of that extra stuff do they have, okay? What Mandalorians do have is elite combat training, right? So from childhood, they're in a culture that prizes preparedness, right? This is preparedness. The warriors trained in armored combat. They do a lot of hand-to-hand fighting, maneuvering, like survival tactics, right? Small units tactics. Like, they're trained for this. They have a very specific set of weaponry. Although you can have different variations, you're typically going to see them with the blaster they use for range combat, flamethrowers to control close range spaces, whistling birds for attacking multiple targets, grappling lines for restraint and movement, jetpacks, right, for their aerial propulsion, vibro blades for close combat, and most notably, like on top of all that, Beskar armor, which to me, the Beskar armor is what they're most known for. This is their sacred metal. I mean, it might as well be, and it has the durability where it's this Beskar armor. This is real. This is what allows them, with their training, to go on like we can take on Jedi, and this is more than just a metal, right? It's also about adaptability. This is what the Mandalorians are. When you look at their wide body of like weapons and stuff that they use, right? The Mandalorians are among the most versatile warriors I think that we're seeing. And I almost say, I mean, like, I would put them there with the Yautja, right? The Yautja have a lot of different techniques they adapt. So maybe Yautja win that battle, but these guys are, dang, man, these guys are highly, highly adaptable class. And then you get to the Beskar armor, right? And this is what we know Mandalorian civilization for. This is an extraordinarily durable and capable metal. It can resist blaster fire and even lightsaber strikes. So having the ability to resist blaster fire and lightsaber strikes in this world, man, it's armored tank level now, right? But it's more than even just equipment. A suit of armor, this is culture right here, man. This is culture at the highest level. This is inheritance. This is a set of armor that can carry the history of families across generations, right? Just think about it. He talked about, Bo-Katan. He talks about how long his family had his armor, what it meant to his family. It was generational armor, like 100%. So the armor functions itself as protection, which we know, but also family history, cultural property, personal identity. It's a record of your survival to have this sacred armor passed on to you. So when the armor melts Beskar and reshapes it, it's not just merely, making equipment. They're transforming collective history into something that protects the next generation. So that's like the mystical part of what Beskar as a metal is. Now, these guys are known for tactical warfare. Like, they develop a reputation for conflict with very powerful enemies, including the Jedi, right? Who normally they don't match force, but they rely on mobility, specialized weapons, coordination, deception, whatever, the overwhelming pressure. They do whatever they have to do, right? This is what it is. This is the way, right? Power does not always mean possessing the enemy's gifts. This is their words, okay? Listen up on this one. Power does not always mean possessing the enemy's gifts. Sometimes it means capturing a culture capable of surviving that gift. And that's what they've done, right? They built this culture that survives even what these damn Jedis and all these guys are doing, right? So that just shows you like how adaptable they are. They take that on and they're able to pull that off live. I definitely have a lot of respect for how the Mandalorian culture just comes about, like how it pulls it in there, right? So we see this cultural transformation and this relationship with Grogu and Din. Like, this is the clearest example of that ideology. He starts treating him as a target initially, then he transitions. All that stuff goes away, and he starts adopting. Like, he's slowly adopting. He's becoming a Mandalorian because Din accepted responsibility for him. I took you in, you're my responsibility, I'm training. So this is Mandalorian parenthood. It's very strong. Like, the child becomes yours when you accept the duty of protecting them and preparing them, not merely just sharing your blood. Like, these are all the things they put into Mandalorian. So I guess we'd say, like, Mandalorians are the ultimate, like, adoptive parents, right? Like, they don't care about your bloodlines. They're the ultimate adoptive parents, right? So if you meet a Mandalorian guy, you're a single mom, Mandalorian's the guy who do it. He'll take your kid and make your kid Mandalorian. The other thing we know about the Mandalorians is, of course, their helmet. Like, right here, you can see the Mandalorian helmet. That's it right there. Like, that's one of their most symbolic things. Mandalorian helmet represents a lot of things about Mandalorian. First of all, it's discipline, right? It's mind your own business. It's also emotional control. It shows unity. It shows anonymity. It is separation from ordinary society, and is the elevation of duty over personality. That's all it says, right? It says all those things. When you put that helmet on, we kind of know who you are. We understand what you're coming in when you walk in. We understand you're a Mandalorian. Now, the rule about never revealing your face, that actually varies among different Mandalorian, like, sects within it. Some of the Mandalorian families believe in it very strongly. Some don't. Again, it's a mixture of, like, military and, religion for some and politics for others. So there's a lot. So they don't constantly adhere to that specific aspect of it, right? It's more like an interpretation of the way, right? Like, we all seeing the way. We know it's the way, right? We don't always see the same way. Sometimes there's multiple paths, and depending on what set what set of Mandalore you coming into, or what clan or what creed, that'll influence how you interpret rules, like if you can ever show your face. And then, of course, the other thing is the best car, right? Like, the best car we see up there, man, like, this is like, adamantium level, right? And this is highly identifiable with, like, who they are, understanding, being able to resist pressure, right? They're resilient. They can be heated, it can be struck, it can be melted, it can be separated without losing its essential strength. That's the thing about this amazing metal. It's a near perfect metaphor for the Mandalorians themselves, right? Their planet was devastated. Their government collapsed, right? The clans were all divided. The Empire attempts to eliminate them, yet the culture survives in fragments that eventually can be brought back together and reforged. That is Mandalorian culture right there, man. Can't stop and will not stop, right? Like, that's it. And you can see in the back, you see that mythosaur. That's one of the other big symbols. This was a giant creature that was once native to Mandalore. And according to all their myths and ancient legends, they conquered and they used to ride these beasts. That's how raw the Mandalore. So the skull becomes a recognizable symbol of Mandalorian power. Like, this is telling you everything about it. This is about their ancient past. This is about overcoming your fears. This is about taming chaos. It's about legitimate leadership. That's the significance that we see. This is like dragon culture, right? For Mandalorians, it's like, yeah, I rode a dragon. What's up? And, like, conquer everything. Like, these are some bad dudes, man. I'm telling you, in a war, they're like, yeah, everything has superpowers and is bigger than us. We're gonna handle this stuff, man. So we produce just a high culture, man. That's what they're doing. Like, this is the way. Like, this is the way is the other part. Even though this is the way gets interpreted different, like, again, which of the clans you're coming from, but this is the way. This is like one of the markers. This is how we live. This is how our ancestors taught us. This is the obligation that we accepted. It means all these things. Personal preferences do not override communal responsibilities, right? That's a big thing. Don't join one of these clans if you're not putting the clan first. Like, this is it, right? This is the way. We put the clan first. We represent the clan to the fullest, right? And there's a whole mythology that we see through this. This is like the Spartan culture. This is your identity through this ultimate discipline. It's a very popular image of Spartan. Mandalorians kind of emphasize that. Your endurance, you have your your martial training skills up to par. You have a collective identity. You have a preparation for conflict That's on par, man. It's on par with anything else. Other societies put pressure on individuals to embody the representation of the larger community. Like the warrior is not fighting as a private person. This is what they're saying. You go back into like Viking culture, where reputation, mobility, clan loyalty. These are the same things we see, represented in Mandalorian culture. Their weapons, their ships, their stories, ancestral representations all became like, for the Vikings, where like honor was not just purely internal. It was something that was witnessed, right? This is important. When you go back and you look at a lot of like the Norse stories, right? A lot of it's about remembrance, right? Writing that stuff down, the honor, the stuff that they did. Same thing we see that in like samurai culture, right? Same type of mentality. It was about the armor, it was about the service, it was about, contested art, honor, like honor under mad pressure that holds up. So the way of the warrior isn't like, fixed to what they say, but it is a way of conduct. Like I would look like medieval knights, I would say, are the same thing. Like initiate orders, where you have like sacred brotherhoods, they kind of resemble knighthood in that way. I at least, like especially the religious kind of military orders, we've seen those throughout history as well. Like the armorer within it is like your blacksmith, he's the crafts person. He kind of holds the community together because he's the maker of the sacred armor, right? All that stuff kind of goes right into it. Those are the places. It's a lot of discipline over comfort, man. Your feelings, right? Like this is what it is. This armor is not comfortable. I know it looks cool, but there's no way this armor is comfortable, right? Like this helmet can't possibly be. I know it enhances your vision, but it can't be comfortable to wear. So the mask itself is a part of all of it. Like all of it is like, your family can be chosen. And once you choose your family, I'm telling anyone who's trying to become a Mandalorian yourself, when you choose your family, you better be careful. Like your family can be chosen, but you have to honor that family, man. It's very important that you honor that family. If you get in, they're going to take you in. They're going to give you everything that's going to make you a Mandalorian. But you have to honor these. This is not we're not playing around here. This is one of the main clans where they are not playing around here, right? If you get into this is very serious business, man. This is always about your honor. Like these long traditions that we see reflected on Earth culture, it's the same thing. Like this is it. Mandalorian's greatest strength is sometimes their downfall, like that they have to be so unified. So it is what it is. Like the Mandalorians, I think, are one of the finest cultures I've admired Mandalorian because of like that discipline, that unity, right? And that look, if you can be a Mandalorian, man, it's better than being a crow, right? If you're on that crow side, I wouldn't do that at all. Mandalorian, you can still have a life, but you got to follow. This is the way as it's interpreted, right? That's that whole Mandalorian culture, right? But another one I was looking at, and this is one I thought about in mythology. I always like to go back to mythology, like Odin's chosen warriors, right? This is the same thing, man. It's the same type of thing. It's a very grim aspect of it, right? But think about this, right? The hair jar, right? Odin's chosen warriors. I can't speak the Norse words for this, but these are all the battle slain warriors who got picked to go to Valhalla. Everybody's talking about Valhalla, like you die and they want to die in battle so you can get chosen to go to Valhalla, right? Like this is like this is where all the fighters go, those who fight alone, unique champions. So these weren't guys who simply were brave, but they weren't the general populace. You were warriors when you went down. So what Odin's doing is collected all these guys together, ultimately prepare for Ragnarok, right? Like this is ultimately what you're doing. So a lot of people believe that it's every courageous warrior automatically enters Valhalla. That is not true. Freya receives half of those killed in battle for her realm, while Odin gets the other half. So Valhalla is more like a possible destination. There's two destinations. I don't know yet what Freya's doing with her half of it, but she gets half. So this is what it is, right? We're told that warrior must reach a certain kill count, belong to a particular nation. Oh wait, okay. We don't see anything about warriors having to be at a kill count, any particular nation, or possess a beloved bloodline. The specific factor is divine selection. So you have to be chosen. So they're watching them. So it's less about receiving a predictable award and more for being chosen. Like you put it down, they watched you, they observed you, and they're like, yeah, I would like to have this guy helping us fight for Ragnarok, right? So these guys themselves, they don't necessarily have any power, right? They don't have any unique weapons, right? They fight more like mortal men. Like they're fighting like, they're undead warriors. So every day, I mean, they eat, right? They do eat every day. These guys get up, they put their armor on, they get to training ground, they fight, right? This is not simple. They go for it. These are pitched battles, right? They go for it every night, and you get killed even there, but you end up feasting every single night. So this is their repetition that you feast every day. This is the Hall of the Slain, and they're the Hall of the Slain to serve a very specific purpose, and that purpose is like Ragnarok is coming, and we got to be ready. We got to have some defense when Ragnarok, shows up. The problem, like the messed up part of it, is that you can't stop Ragnarok. Like no matter what, none of it matters. Like Odin even knows this. Odin even knows that you can't stop Ragnarok. I don't know when he figures it out. But I think it's pretty early on. He's like, yeah, I can't stop Ragnarok. I'm not supposed to stop Ragnarok, but you still do this. Yeah, so I guess give everybody some hope, man. Keep hope alive, right? And they're preparing for the final conflict. So they're always ready for the apocalypse. And the whole thing is like, okay, so the deeper part is, of course, this doesn't happen without the Valkyries. This is why the Valkyries play a very important role, right? The Valkyries represent selection, right? That's the role of the Valkyries in there, right? Valkyries are fate, or their selection, fate, death, and passage from a mortal identity into divine service. That's what you're being selected for. This is a divine service. So they don't just reward any old soldier after death. They operate within the machinery of fate. They're choosing the slain and sometimes determining the outcome of battles themselves. So warrior encountering a Valkyrie, it means two things. Your mortal life is over, right? So get ready for it. But your greater assignment is now beginning, right? So it's two things in one. Depending on how you see it, you're cool, right? The symbolism of the spear with Odin is obviously a big part of it because it represents that authority for the selection. This is divine, the divines here. The shield, obviously, this is their symbolism for, like all the incantations. So all that stuff goes right along with it. So this is like the chosen of the dead, the rebirth of the dead, the army fighting the dead, the eternal war band. All this stuff fits in together because every day we're just here. We didn't do nothing but this all day long. What are you guys going to do tomorrow? We're going to get up and fight. We're going to fight, and I'm going to stab you up. You're going to stab me up, and then we're just going to all wake up and go eat and have meat and all that stuff. And then we're going to get up tomorrow. We're going to do the same thing all over again. So it is this brotherhood because they're all these chosen. All these guys are chosen by the gods. We're all divinely chosen warriors. That does mean a lot, right? That absolutely does mean a lot. So that's what we get when we're talking about, these guys. It's ultimate preparedness. Like no matter what, they're ready. Like these guys are at their ready, despite the fact that nobody's telling them that it's not going to matter at all, right? I think it will matter to them. I absolutely think it will matter to them, though, right? And then like another, man, now this is a mythical group for that ass right here. This is a great one that do some study on this one, man. Because we don't even talk about the Myrmidons. Like I haven't seen any mythology about the Myrmidons since like, man, I can't think of any. But the Myrmidons, this was the war band of Achilles. You already know how hot this group has got to be. Like the war band of Achilles. Come on, man. Like the finest warrior, what do you think his warrior band was like? This is the most legendary Greek warriors that were commanded during the Trojan War. From the Iliad, we start talking about these guys. Talk about his father. Iliad, he had 50 ships that came along. These were the Myrmidons. And man, these guys were like, man, this was a fully independent unit. This wasn't some unit that had simply chosen him. These were his followers. This was his personal war band. Like the love and attachment that these guys had to Achilles, it was beyond anything else, man. It was beyond, like they saw Achilles and they were like, man, I'm serving a higher power right now, man. And they were like, really, dude. It's like it's like you, Kobe, man. It's like you, Kobe, and all of us are Lamar Odom and Derek Fisher. We're all here because you're gonna lead us to the promised land, man. We trust in you and we believe in you. So this is how he is, and they're all trained upon his standards, right? And there's some myths about the Myrmidons. Like they link the Myrmidons to ants. Like mythically, like they were said that they were they were, I think the myth tells that they were an ant hive. I'm gonna have to check that, man. And he creates the Myrmidons either after seeing them or in their vision. It was something about like the strength of the ants was obviously in their ability to fight together, right? Like the strength wasn't the individual ant. It was by them, having this like constant labor, group coordination, collective survival. Like that's how the Myrmidons saw themselves. So that link, like, in animal representation was huge. We see animal representations all the time. This was insect representation, I should say, but it was like, look, the subordination of individual discomfort. It is what it is. The ability to overwhelm large opponents, right? Rebuild after destruction. The Myrmidons were like the epitome of this. Now, while Achilles was obviously the most spectacular performer, this is a guy who was like the top of the heap on all the Greek warriors, right? Like I think he gets Hercules, man. He was far more skilled than Hercules clearly was stronger, but he was far more skilled than Hercules. As he had his armor, with his armor on, man, I think he gets Hercules. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you guys. He had enchanted weapons as well. So this is what I'm gonna say about him. So his mythology is old, right? And the Myrmidons themselves, they didn't have any magical powers, but they were led by somebody who could. He had some divine inspiration. Like they were inspired by him. Like he was that dude, man. Like, your boss, when your boss is the baddest of the bad, right? It gives like just his presence alone was constantly inspiring people. His presence alone would make other armies give up. Imagine everywhere you go, everybody give up before you guys even get there. Of course you go into the hole and do whatever you got to do, right? Because they were already scared of you being there. That was like, that was MJ in his prime, man. We're like, people are like, oh man, who's on the calendar tonight? The Bulls. You're like, oh man, I don't even want to play tonight because you were already afraid that you had to guard Jordan. You're like, man, if you play the 2 or the 3 spot, you calling in sick that day, man. Plenty of dudes did that. That's perfectly understandable. That was Achilles, man. Putting up 36 a night, man. All defensive first team as well. That was who Achilles was. And we're rolling with him. We're the Myrmidons, man. That was a crew unto itself. They got celebrated, man. Horace Grant got his money, man. They got their commercial spots. So he gave them like prestige. He gave them direction. He gave them tactical organization. He gave them confidence in themselves. He gave them like reputation and training. Like all this being a Myrmidon was truly righteous. And Achilles, for the most part, seemed like a pretty righteous dude. And there's some questionable stuff in the past. But overall, like he's a dude I could see them like getting behind. And clearly that's what they got behind to an elite level, man. Like, and I'm telling you, man, even like his armor was enchanted. Remember, he loses his first set of armor, right? When Patroclus uses armor and goes out and fights and gets killed. They take that armor, right? They take that armor. He has to go get another set of armor. He ain't Tony Stark, man. Stark's got like 10 sets of armor and all that stuff. Achilles didn't have multiple sets of armor. So he had to go back and get some new armor. So when he came out, like the whole him and the gleaming armor, all that stuff, man, when you see him, he's like, man, my boss is clean though, man. Let's get it. Let's get it right now, right? So this is who he is. So his core has a lot of symbolism to him. The core that I would walk away from this is a connection to the ants, which now like I need to do a little more research on it, right? Like that's actually a pretty cool connection there. The Myrmidons, right? Where's this next one? Now another one here, I skipped past because I didn't want to talk about it till now, but oh man, I'm going the wrong way. I don't know. Where are you at? Yeah, the Fianna, right? The Fianna. Now, I'm probably saying this wrong. This is an Irish word, and this is another legendary band of warrior hunters, right? And they were like a singular, like they operated the same way. They were just known and obviously operating those out. These guys are more like ranger types. So when we see these, I immediately think about like your Aragon, like because that's kind of stealing off of Celtic traditions as well. Like a great myth behind these guys. This was an institution. This was like a real social institution that went along with it. And their lifestyle was this fighting class. These warriors possessed amazing skills. They had very useful skills. They were trained as a band of landless young men among normal society who could defend the kingdom, right? Or prey on it, depending on what side they were on. So these guys were real, man. They had this whole formation based on military ability, right? Hunting skills, like especially ranger type skills. They all got that look. Knowledge of the landscape. For some reason, poetry, man. Like, I get it, man. You want to be well-rounded, like your warrior hunters of the Irish wild, and you got to have poetry in your skill set. It's not just enough to have martial arts skill. It's not just enough to have hunting ability, knowledge of the landscape. You have poetry in your game as well, right? You have prophecy, was something they were also known for, judgment, leadership, and supernatural wisdom. This is all that they get from their leaders. It's Fionn Mac Culhair. He's the founder, the central leader of this group, and all this stuff that he gives them to. So you have all this knowledge. This young man forms all their studies, and they establish what is called the salmon of knowledge represents, which is wisdom gained through experience, contact with the other world, poetic inspiration, prophecy, the unpredictable transmission, or excuse me, the predictable transmission of authority. And their power was basically in that they were so in tune with the wilderness. These guys were the ultimate like wilderness. They understood forests, rivers, mountains, the animals, pathways, the seasons, the weather, hidden places within there. They could do everything. They were great at tracking, exceptional patience. They were stealthy than a mug, high endurance, high weapons accuracy, reading physical signs, coordinated pursuit, knowledge of terrain. So these guys were full purpose, right? Their martial abilities, they were skilled at close combat, spear fighting, swordsmanship, shield use, right? Running from long distance, leaping, coordinated warfare. So these were not a heavy formation units, but they had a mythical use of the environments that favored their mobility. So that's how they wrote. They were poetry and memory. They held on to culture. They passed down all the stories. And you went through trials to get in. You couldn't just show up. You had to go through some very difficult trials of tests that were documented. There's some real scholarly advice that traces this traditions back 1,400 years back. Like, you can go to some Princeton University documents that talk about this, right? So they have a well documented, like, yeah, you're gonna have to go through some stuff. It was training. It was so this was like a real group that over time became mythic, right? We start to see them in a mythic way. And their poetry skills, man, are legendary, man. That's one thing I do know about them. That's one thing I do know about them. They had a code. They had a very high code, right? They had a very high code of contact, purity or truth of heart. This is very important, man. You couldn't be on that nonsense. Strong. You had to be strong. Strength of limbs. Your actions had to match your words. Man, I'm liking these dudes more and more. Inner character, physical capability, public action. This is where these guys move, man. If the heart is pure, but the body cannot act, intention remains powerless. These are powerful words. If the body is strong, but the heart is corrupt, ability becomes dangerous. If speech promises one thing, but behavior produces another, then honor collapses. The ideal warrior is someone whose character, capability, and conduct all agree, right? This is like high level stuff right here, man. This is a brotherhood that is beyond blood. They weren't simply a biological clan. They were all members of different lineages and even some rival factions that all came together. So they all served under this Fionn, who was their ultimate leader, who established it. So they got some notable hit members in history. Like, definitely, if you're ever looking at anything like you want to figure out some warrior clans, you're doing some writing, this is a great one here, because you'll pull something out of that Celtic tradition. Like, it's pure. There's a lot of knowledge on it, man. It kind of feels like Aragon to me. That's what kind of where I feel like Aragon pulls from. But I'll never know. I mean, I think Tolkien might have been on some other stuff, but it feels very Aragon, to me. I dig that about it, right? And then, like, the last ones I'm going to look at today are like, we get all the where are you at? We get like other cultures. I look at these. The Yautja kind of feel the same way to me. Like, obviously from the Predator series, the Yautja, they're all about that. These guys, they're kind of like the Mandalorian because they're all about advanced technology. They both have ritual, they have a lot of ritual acts, ancient rituals. They have clan organization. They have specialized armor. They have specialized weapons and masks, rites of passage that you have to get through. You got to get your status is earned through your demonstrated skill. Like, the Yautja are definitely like, you got to get it out the mud. They have a very highly formalized warrior code that they adhere to. They have an exile or punishment system for violating traditions, recognition of worthy opponents. Like, they have very distinct weapons that are associated with their cultural identity. So we get a lot when we're looking at the Yautja. Like they're one of the biggest, I think, best examples of like warrior culture on that scale. But the difference is like, with the Mandalorian, still a little different because like the Yautja are, the Mandalorians are still about uplifting my culture, right? The Mandalorians are still like, how do I lift my culture up? Where Yautja is all about how can I overcome to prove that I'm worthy. So nobody in Yautja is trying to improve the culture. They improve the culture only in what they can add war wise. But so there's no other cultural development where I think, at least I've never seen any like kind of dissension in the Yautja belief system. They all seem like they're kind of locked in. I don't know if there's more warrior beliefs or religious beliefs that go along with it, but it seems pretty set in it. Like they're pretty rigid over there, right? But it is a culture that has ritualized mastery of their combat skills. The other one is the Kree, and I like the Kree. The Kree are a little bit different because the Kree kind of represents some of the Mandalorian aspects, militarized culture, like right off the bat, you're born in this, advanced weapons and armor, I dig that, long institutional memory, reverence for service at an extremely high level, extremely strong collective loyalty to the crew, imperial and civil fictions, a civilization repeatedly organized after catastrophes, and individuals who are conditioned to place honor and duty above your own personal attachment. They're obsessed with it. They're obsessed about like their collective advancement, their genetic development, like purity, continuity. Like everybody is 100% focused on this stuff all the time. And this is elite warriorships. Like you have to be elite to be messing with the Kree. Like they hold a standard that is so high. But man, their individual devotion to Kree, man, it's hard to question it, man. It's really hard to question how they bring their people together, man. It's actually kind of beautiful when we think about it. They have highly specialized warriors. They have coordinated missions. Like they're highly skilled and coordinated. Like their leadership is impressive. They have advanced armor, which I love, right? I'm all about that, right? So the Kree, like they set some standards. They're a little bit different because the Kree are so restricted by bloodline that they lock everybody else out, right? They lock everybody else out. But whereas Mandalorian, you can through training. Hang on, guys. Come on. Jesus Christ, dogs, man. So that brings me to ultimately the Viltrumites. And the Viltrumites, man, they're highly militarized and obviously they operate on a different scale. They're all about powers. They're biological supremacy. So they're on the far end. They're actually very, very different. Now that I really look at them, even as a warrior civilization, they are far more a biological tool. And with Mandalorian, your identity is learned. With the Viltrumite, obviously you can't become Viltrumite. They don't respect anybody else. So the Viltrumites themselves, like they're very different. But again, like their conquest is their purpose, right? So that's where Viltrumite. Their identity is biological. Their conquest, right? Their conquest. Their formalized test is very different. They wouldn't take anyone in. So like three very different cultures. I would say the Yautja are the closest. The Kree are kind of, have some similarities. The Viltrumites are probably the opposite of them. But, man, three good warrior cultures I wanted to get into. After talking about, man, let's not forget, like, who the main impetus of all this was, right? And that would be, yeah, the Mandalorian culture, man. So I'm telling you guys, man, I checked out that flick, man. The Mandalorian I thought was real nice. I just wanted to kind of dig a little bit further into Mandalorian culture. But right now, I'm going to wrap up. My lunch just arrived. Appreciate you guys stopping in. Hit that like and subscribe. Send me your ideas, thoughts, expressions that you like for future episodes. I'll cut this up and have it on the channel. And I'll be back later with another stream for you guys. Thanks for stopping in. Definitely appreciate it.